Hello, everyone on YouTube. Give me a moment here. I wanna sit down somewhere, and then we'll get right into this video. Sit by this plum tree. Let's see. All right. So this video is gonna cover a lot. It's gonna cover a few things that I've actually talked about in a few different videos, and I'm gonna bring a few other ideas into it as well, which let me move a little bit. There's an anthill right there. um, which it's gonna we're talking about dark energy and why fruit and sugar is the best thing to eat, and why people are even eating really. And let's start with the moon, which I've made a video on this before. The moon matrix, and the number 8 and vowels, and they're illusionary. There are things that should just be left alone because the moon is tied to eating, which is why when the moon gets full, people generally want to eat more. It has to do with the activity that it's creating, the the manipulation of the matter that it creates within time, the time frame, which has to do with the Saturn matrix, and it's an infinite loop. It's an 8. I'm pretty sure that's the moon goes in an 8, doesn't it? Isn't that the orbit it takes, an 8? They say, which an 8 is a infinity sign, which is it's just a loop. It's an infinite loop, which some people look at an 8 and think infinity, like yeah, I'm infinite, but to be infinite to be is really means to be in a finite, to be like stuck in something. You're stuck in some type of construct, which the example they show you, the infinity sign or number 8, which has to do with eating, is is just a spiral. All it is it's a circle that got twisted. That's all it is. And it's just going around doing the same things over and over and over and over. There's a difference between infinite and immortality, or to be immortal, or to be everlasting. Because everlasting, you're always going in a direction forever, and you're always growing, changing, experiencing new things, moving through different things. When you're in an 8, you're going through the same things. Like right now, uh, they're bringing back the space launches. They're going to space again in these rocket ships. They're bringing it back because that's how the system works. It regurgitates the same thing to keep people's minds in an infinite loop, so that they feel like, um, so they feel a sense of comfort in the same things coming over and over and over and over. But it it creates a big sense of lack. You're missing things, so people try to create these weird ideas to fill the holes of the mononymous thing, same doing the same thing over and over and over on the same treadmill. Yeah, Kai. And go ask mommy. And oh, what was I saying? The right. If it, when you're in a loop like that, it leaves something to be desired. So people try to find these something to fill the void because that's really what a loop creates. It creates a void right in the middle of you. It's emptiness because you're doing the same things. There's nothing new, and we are beings that work off of experience and new experiences because we love to grow. It's like these trees; they love to grow. They don't stop growing. Nature does not stop growing. Plants don't stop growing because they're eating off of source energy. They're not looking at secondary material and going off of that and getting all these different ideas and thoughts, trying to piece something together to make a semblance of the life that people are living to make it okay. The the treadmill. People try to make that treadmill seem like this is life. This is it. This is all we got. This is all we're doing. This is not the case in any way, shape, or form. That's not life at all. Life is forever changing, which this is to be immortal, is you're forever changing. It has nothing to do with death. It's because death really doesn't exist like that. Because death, you can put death right in with the moon, the eight, the vowels. So people are eating vowels because we don't need to say vowels. We don't need to write vowels. They're vowed to you. You already have them. They're innate to you, to how you speak. It automatically comes out when you start using other forms of communication. You automatically enunciate these things. You don't have to even pay attention to them. It's natural. But in the system, how it's set up, it uses these things to keep people in a loop because a loop is easy to market to. It's easy to maintain. It's easy to supervise. It's easy to do anything with because it's predictable. If something's predictable in capitalism, that's great for capitalism because that's how capitalism works, is off of predictability. That's why it's all built off of data and numbers and regurgitating the same numbers over and over and over again to get people into a trance, to get people to forget that they're doing the same thing over and over because you glance over them eventually and you start just seeing the shiny new color, the new paint on the car, the new bumper on it. It's the same thing. And even if you look at cars, even when they change the exterior, a lot of times it's the same interior components. It's the same engine. It's the same engine they've been using for maybe 10, 15 years a lot of times. No change because that's how the system works. It works off of uh, it uses people's eyes to trick them and make them feel like they're moving when they're really not, because movement has a lot more to do than what you're seeing. It has to do with feeling. And that's a recap on another video I did because that you have to understand that for what I'm going to say in this video. So dark energy. People like to talk about dark energy, and dark energy is the purest form of energy that you can get. It's ether. It's it's not air. It's ether. It's basically what air is because you can't see it. But people like to refer to it as air, even though it ain't there. It's ether. It's it's a sense of it's more of a sense of feeling that you connect to. And in this environment that we're in right now, the ether has been discombobulated, so it's being manipulated so that you cannot absorb it purely as we are able to when we are in a completely natural open space without all these different distractions running around us constantly in all these different ways, which is why we eat in the first place. It's to compensate for this because the environment that we are in right now is not an environment to where we can work off a straight etheric energy. We need to compensate until we can get back to a holistic balanced state in the whole community, in the whole world, in your whole world. And everyone's at different points right now, but people are starting to realize that, um, which they have been for a while, there's a better way to ingest things. There's actually there's a reason we ingest things. So we don't just do it because we want to eat, because we feel like we want to eat. To go with that mindset is to just is basically give up to the oppressors and what they're telling you. Is this is how your body works, this is what it is, this is how it's made, and this is how you're going to function with it. That's to take no self-discernment or actually self-gnosis into account to figure out for yourself what is actually going on. That's to literally believe someone, to actually live someone else's lie, which is exactly what the system wants, because that's predictable. It's predictable. That's why we have all these food chains, all of these different industries that generate all these different products of all different kinds, not just food, because it's poison of the mind in 360 in every way possible. It's just not eating. It's just not specific things that people are eating that's poisoning them and their ability to absorb etheric energy. It has to do with what they're putting on their body, what kind of clothes they're wearing, what they're looking at, what they're listening to, um, what yeah, what their day-to-day experience is, what they expect, how you actually think in general. All of this affects yourself and your ability to absorb source energy, which is what etheric energy is, a source energy. And a lot of these things we do to ourselves. We self-impose a lot of this because of our own ignorances, because we don't realize what is really occurring around us. We're going in one direction in this circle too often to ever realize that I ate this and it made me feel a certain way. Let me try doing it a different way. People don't experiment with themselves like that because they're too busy going to the next thing. So what do? They go and get advice on what they need to do. It's exactly what the system wants, because that's predictable. Now they can actually tell someone to tell you something so that you go with that. Do you see how this is laid out? It's this big ass map to convolute your simplicity, because it's simple to obtain etheric energy. It's complicated right now and complex simply because of the position that we have allowed ourselves to be put into. No other reason. It's natural to us to absorb etheric energy. That's what we do. But people are walking around with plastic clothes on, not even realizing that it's plastic. They don't even realize what they're doing to themselves, because no one's really talking about a lot of this. And it's not, you ain't going to hear about this on news every single day. They might tell you like once in a while, but that's just to feed your mental hunger and desire for something new, which is why they give these little nuggets of information in coded ways so that people don't even realize that they're being told some very prominent truth that they should really be paying attention to. And dark energy is immortal energy. That's to hopefully my phone lasts through this. That's immortal energy to move through um the different paradigms and environments without pause, without having to look back, without having to go back. You just keep going because you just keep absorbing what's in front of you, which is everything. Everything's in front of you. There's nothing behind you. Only reason people think there's something behind them is because they turned around. The loop. That's the whole idea of it. You're only going one way, but the system gets us so that we think so that so that we're actually going in a loop, even though we're still going one way. But it's one way loop. Figure eight. Figure eight. This is why eight has to do with eating. This is why eating is such a prominent thing. It's probably the main thing that is used to get to poison people, to get them in a certain mental state so that they're easily to manipulate, so they can easily manipulate them. And this is why food is also created in a certain way, because it harms the body's ability to absorb etheric energy and to absorb it out of even the food. It makes you not even want to eat the food that is dense in this energy. Plant life, because the the earth, the plane, this soil beneath us, anything that grows out of it has etheric energy in it. That is that is why we ingest plant life. Now, there's still different ways to go about this, because guess what? Some of this stuff has been adulterated in itself with different things in it that just it makes it harder to digest and process. Which if it's hard to digest and process, then it's gonna be harder for you to get what you need out of it. That's always how it's gonna be. The things that are easier to digest is gonna be easier to process. It's gonna be easy to get the things out of it that you need to have high energy, to move, to grow, which people commonly link weight to food and eating, but they're linking it in the wrong way, because weight has to do with eight and has to do with actually staying in place. So if you weigh a lot because you eat a lot, you're actually sticking yourself in place. That's why it's W8. And the W in itself is an upside down M. They flipped the M upside down, which M is the mother. It's the nourishment of everything. It's the ether. It's what's taking care of you. You're taking care of yourself. They flipped the M upside down and you get a W. Whoa. Because W is associated with everything that is backwards. And that's why they've got people thinking that you need to weigh a certain amount, like height to weight. Why do they do that? Because depending on your if you if it really doesn't even have to do with weight, because your mass has nothing to do with weight. It has nothing to do with weight. How is a balloon so big, but it's mass isn't even the right word. Volume. How is, because that you volume you turn up, but all it is more notches. It's the same thing. It's just higher. How is a balloon so big if it's all only full of air? You can do this with your body. It's the same concept. You're breathing in air. You're putting in air into the balloon. You can blow that up. Why can't you blow your body up with air or etheric energy? In our case, because we are living organisms, we can absolutely do that when we figure out how to. Like that's why in some cartoons, like oh, what was the dude's name? This is where giants come from, right here. This is the concept of giants too. What's the from the from the Justice League? What uh, the 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 Indian superhero, Apache something, that he gets like 50 feet tall off of nothing, because they're showing you that this guy who is indigenous to the land can increase his size to 50 times what he is, or whatever it is. That's because that's what we can do. That's what we can do. We can't do it correctly in this environment right now because of the shape that we have allowed ourselves to get into, because we allowed ourselves to get pushed into the corner. Well, now people are pushing back. And the where do I want to go next? So with eating, the best thing to eat is sugars. The best place to get sugars are fruit, because the fruit is the most hydrating thing. That's where the liquid is what contains the ether. Just like there's moisture in the air. We should be in a highly humid environment, because that is a encapsulation for dark energy. This is why you should distill your water and then charge your water through the air, through the sun, through the ground, through putting different plants in it. There's many ways to charge your water. I have a whole video on that. But because of the way that this plane has been adulterated, it's hard to even find clean water around. Really, that would be a great source to go to. But we can't find clean water, so now what? The plants purify the water for us, so we ingest the plants. But we really don't even want the plants. We want the liquid out of the plants because the liquid is really where this dark energy is, which is why fruit is the best thing for people to ingest, which is high in sugar because the sugar is linked to the dark energy. That's why the sugar comes out with the juice. It doesn't stay with the matter. When you make juice, the pulp, if you get all of that juice out, the pulp tastes like grass because it's mostly fiber. And this environment, this system has also created things to combat even being able to process sugars correctly. This is the whole idea of being lactose intolerant. Yes, pasteurize anything that's heated is especially something as dense, as etherically dense as milk. It's so dense as white. Something so etherically dense as milk cannot be heated like that because it's going to destroy the natural webbing in it. And And when you do that, you're not going to be able to process it. Now, even if a lot of people were going and start drinking raw milk, they still wouldn't be able to process it correctly because their bodies are in such terrible shape to be able to digest sugars of all kinds. And lactose is one of the hardest ones to digest because it is so dense in energy. That's why protein is so abundant in milk, is because it has such a dense form of energy. Because what are the cows doing on all day long? They're eating fucking grass, which no one else is eating because we can't process it like that. We don't got four stomachs. Which is why we want the sugars for the bodies that we are using. These plants, these leafy plants, we cannot digest like that. In small scales, yes. But because we can in small scales, we better get the most nutrient dense plants we can find, which are herbs. That's why herbs are going to be the number one plant food if you're going to ingest it besides the fruit of the plant. Um, so the system has created things, obviously, that make it almost impossible for people to digest sugars because of one, the sugars that people are eating. Two, the other things that people are eating, their body is constantly in a processing state, in an overloaded processing state, trying to catch up because of all this dense matter that people are putting in them. And they've actually flipped everyone to think that when they are starting to empty out and actually get room to start absorbing pure energy, uh, energy closer to source, they just want to eat again because that's what they think it is. They think that the feeling of hunger is I need to shove something else in my stomach, but that's not really what it is. It's not what hunger is. It's not that feeling of hunger. Really, it's you need to get something out of you. And you can see this through diabetes. It's plainly obvious that people cannot process sugars. This is where diabetes comes from. It's the inability to process sugars and your body being off balance due to it. There is no reason for. Have you ever seen an animal with diabetes? How would you know? How would you know? Because they weren't diagnosed with it. You wouldn't. You would never see an animal with diabetes unless they were eating as fucked up as their caretakers were. You would never see an animal out in nature with diabetes. It doesn't happen because they're listening to their bodies and ingesting things as they need to. You don't even see many animals eating. How many things do you see eating out in nature? Not many. Not many. You might see like some birds eating some dead animals, maybe insects and stuff eating some dumb dead animals, but that's just the recycling effect that occurs here. Is that even really eating? Because at that point, that's just nature recycling its uh its material so they can reuse it. Because they eat the animal so they can process it, shit it out on the soil so that new life can grow out of it, plants. Because where does soil come from? But out of your ass. Because people are eating all the soil. Well, where's all that soil going that's going down the toilet? Where's all of the where's it all? Where is it? And oh, let me see where my battery's at. Okay, we're good. So the fruit would be the best thing to have. Uh, hydrating fruit specifically, not not necessarily dense fruits. I'm not saying not to eat more dense fruits because it depends on other things that you're doing. Some people cannot actually stand having all of that energy in them because they've never experienced it before. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to insulate themselves. They don't know how to properly move around with a bottle full of lightning because you can go off at any moment when you are walking around with a bottle full of lightning. You have to be able to direct it. You have to be able to control yourself. 'Cause otherwise, you're going to end up everywhere. You're just going to be uh, a walking thunderstorm that could just blow up at any moment. And what else? Um, there's one thing I missed. Where can I fit this in at? The dark energy, etheric energy, basically like fire. It's like invisible fire. That's what we breathe. That's what we are inside. That's what we breathe out. I was actually doing a video earlier that I didn't have my headset on, and my phone's microphone is very fucked up for some reason. I don't know why. It has a big hissing sound. But I was to do a video on how we breathe fire, which is simple. Go light something on fire and blow on it. You're breathing fire. Just because you can't see a physical flame like you think exists in this environment doesn't mean you're not breathing fire. You're breathing the other fire. You're breathing etheric fire. It's even hotter. This is why when people start doing things straight out of their heart, or when they start doing artistic things, when they start just flowing, when they start working in a certain way with determination and enjoyment, you get hot. You sweat. You like I'm hot right now because that's what happens. You are fire internally. The ether is fire, and that's what fruit is. Fruit is the fire of the plant. It's in there. It's in there. That's what the sugar is. That's why we eat that. That's why we juice that. That's why we drink that to get us up and going so that we can get out of here. So we can see what's going on. To get up out of hell. To get out of the matrix, the the illusionary system that people are so complacent with. And that same fire is how you are able to go into a cold climate. If you can internalize this, you can be able to go into a cold climate, negative degrees. It won't affect you because you can encapsulate yourself and actually start pushing out the fire out of you. And when you do that, you just inverted the whole entire system. It's no longer cold. It's no longer cold out because you don't care about what's out because you're hot in. You, which way are you looking? Are you staring outside or are you looking inside and going off of what is outside or going off of what appears outside? Because many people's eyes are stuck outward. That's not how we naturally work. We work from the inside. Where are all these plants' eyes? How are these plants seeing? How are they growing? How do they know not to grow into each other? How do they perfectly intertwine and fit around curves and spaces so that they can just get the most out of the sky as possible? They're not seeing it. It obviously is coming from somewhere else. Coming from somewhere else. And this is why animals out in the middle of winter, oh, it's their fur that keeps them warm. Oh yeah. Oh, that's why they showed the Native Americans skinning all these animals and wearing furs on them because that kept them warm. That's lunacy. That is lunacy 100%. That's lunar. That is completely ass backwards. That's just to get people walking around wearing animals. That's barbaric. That's crazy shit. Why would you want to walk around with dead animal skin on you? Would you want to walk around with dead human skin on you? It That's not what keeps them warm. It's because they're connected to the whole entire thing. They're connected to the thing that no one is seeing because they're too busy staring out in front of them. The etheric energy, dark energy, which this is the most pristine form of fuel. It's that. What do F1 race cars and spaceships and planes allegedly run off of? Rocket fuel, which is hydrogen and oxygen. What what is supposedly in the air? What is really in the air? No one can really tell you because it ain't there. It ain't there. But it's the manipulation of things that we see around the air that is causing us to have a hard time breathing the air. The commotion going on. It's this road behind me and these cars going back and forth, and the people in the cars not knowing what the fuck they're doing and why they're doing it. Just going this way and going that way. They think they're going to an event, they're going to do something. But it's the same thing they did last week. It's the same thing they did 2 years ago. It's the same anonymous treadmill run back and forth constantly for most people in their life. And this is stopping because the earth doesn't work like that. And because the earth doesn't work like that, that type of environment can only withstand for so long because the earth will move on. And so will we. And people that don't, they'll be left in the darkness. Literally, you'll be left in darkness. Let me see what other people are saying here. Who joined? Thematics. Creates. Not go look in what a Cree is. What is a Cree? Just because the word definition, I'm not saying anything's wrong with the word create, but go look at what Cree is. Go look at what a Cree. Exactly. Fire Drake. You know, the plasma. Um, which that's the other thing is you can talk about urine, the plasma, because it's the light. That's what plasma is light energy. And plants grow. Trees glow. Fruit really glows. That's why it has this vibrancy to it. You can even see it in this daylight. If you're in the middle of a forest where it's pitch black, you can still see. It's called uh, ultraviolet light, which is really natural light. Is ultraviolet light. Most people can't see it because they're used to being blinded by fluorescent lights or yeah, that's a good way to go out. Fluorescent lights because it puts you on the floor. It puts you underneath so that you can't see the ultraviolet lights. It puts you on the outside so you can't see the light that is coming out of everything. Every tree is a light pole. Every plant is a light pole. You are a light pole. Everyone's their own source of light. That's why in a lot of these movies they'll show people going into caves holding lanterns with a fire and a candle in it. That's you. You are the lantern. That's why it's Green Lantern. Green, nature, lantern. He's able to make anything out of his hand because your hand is your mind. This is why your signature is so divine because it's tied to your mind. So for you to put uh, something on a piece of paper with your hand is to put your mind to it. That's why it works like that. Because his hands are magic. And people just love to do the same things over and over and over and over, like cutting grass. Why the hell would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that? I seen this super obese guy the other day cutting his grass. I thought the guy was gonna fall over and die, and he was like halfway done. He needs to get a riding lawnmower, but it's crazy. Why would you want to do that? How is that considered? Not even. How is that sane? Like, how is that? How is that even allowed to be something that is normalized? Cutting grass. That's crazy. This is crazy. That's lunacy to cut nature down on a regular basis because it's overgrowing. But if you go out into a forest, into the correct environment in that forest, it'll be perfect. You won't. You walk into it and it's perfect. You got places you can sit. You got places you can go. You can go into the water. You can go climb in trees. There's all kinds of things you can do. You can go to the beach. Go to the beach. You don't have to cut grass at the beach. There's no grass growing at the beach. That's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. And then you see all these different plants that come up out of the grass because obviously grass ain't it. Grass. What is grass? The weed. It is the weed. Everything else that's coming out of it is not a weed. It's the natural plants coming back. Grass is wheat. It is wheat. Look at it. Ah, it's wheat. It's a weed. This is why wheat is not good for you. So I call it flour. It's super dense and terrible to eat. That's why bread is so bad. This is why when they talk about the Great Depression, what did people eat? Potatoes and bread and butter. It's a terrible combination. Terrible combination. Because that's going to slow your digestion down so much because the potatoes are starch, which if you're going to be eating white potatoes, you better be eating those damn things by themselves so that your body can process that starch, which is pretty much a frozen sugar. So it's going to take extra long for you to digest it. Plus, you're putting bread in it, which is ridiculously dense. Go eat a handful of flour. That's what you're doing when you're eating bread. Go eat a handful of flour and see how good that is. See how good that makes you feel. And then make sure to put some highly dense fat on it because that's only going to slow it down to the umpth degree. Just putting highly dense fat with starch is going to slow the digestion down because of what starch is. This is why sweet potatoes and yams are the original ones. They're closer to the source. Are they? I don't know. But they actually have sugar in them because a root is a fruit. It's the same thing. It's just in a different form. So you need to get that water moving in it. It has water. It's just frozen. You just need to get it moving in it. And with sweet potatoes and things that are uh, have sugar in them, when you imbue that, get that water moving into it by using some form of water or heat, it makes it super easy to digest because your body knows how to process sugars. It's what it knows how to do when it comes to ingesting anything is sugar. Your body will destroy and break down sugar like no other if you allow it to. If you get out of its way. First you gotta walk back in time in a sense. You gotta take the layers off. Shed the layers of all of that extra weight that people have been putting on you. What's going on, Diane? Nah, it's not that warm here today. It did get a bit warmer today. I Our lawns rye? I don't know. I mean, there's different types of grass. I don't know what they would be. I know people don't let them fucking grow to even see, but it's definitely from the same plant family, which it clearly is not a flower. Even when it does flower, it is nothing like flowers that grow wild. Not even close. I'm not saying that you won't find these things out in nature, but you will not find them in the sense that people have them in their whole entire freaking yard. It's not going to be like that because it's all balanced out naturally. It's all balanced out naturally. And obviously, in these boxes, these ghettos that people love to call neighborhoods, that people live in these square plots, it's very unnatural, and there's a lot of things that occur that would not be happening if we would be in a more balanced environment. Not at all. Oh, let's see. What? I had 9 people watching. All of a sudden, it drops to 7 because I stretched my leg out. So I get that. I'm getting that energy moving through my knee right now. I don't think that people really. I don't think people get my notifications from what I've heard, even when they do have the bell on. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Let me recap real quick, see if there's anything else I want to add to this before I end it. So we talked about the moon, got into lunacy. This is why it's called mooning, people. It has to do with your ass, which what comes out of your ass, but shit, which is soil, which should not be going down the toilet. The toil. What is it to toil something? The toil it. And yes, so that this is it all connects. It all has to do with each other, which I'm sure I could keep going on for a while with how it all connects. But I think I summed up what I want to talk about in this video. Yes, fermenting is a good way to get going, to get your body back into proper shape because truly that fermenting something is more of a form of medicine to heal you, to get you back to you being able to do it internally because that's always a thing. Can we internalize this and do this process in our own self? Because that's really all our body is a fermentation. And sugars are what really gets that fermentation going. That is where alcohol comes from. So sugars. And when you got the proper sugars in you and you can create that proper fermentation internally, you can just start flowing. You start going because you get a clarity while also having the sense of drunkenness in a way. When I say sense of drunkenness, I mean uh, you stop caring what other people are thinking because you start realizing that there's other things going on here, which comes with culturing yourself. Oh, you did? Huh. Well, that's good that you do. Maybe we can get some more people that do as well. Yes, fermenting and canning anything. It's also why we have cellars. That's why we all had basements that we would put all of the stuff into because it's the perfect temperature to keep all of this stuff because the earth, you go into the earth, into a cave in some way, shape, or form, and you store it because that's where you store things inside the earth. The earth is what stores up all the energy. Why do you think all these plants come up out of the earth? Because the earth stores energy. So if we take these plants out of the earth, we put them in a container, we bring it back into the earth and let it sit. It's just going to further culture itself and turn into something beautiful to ingest. Uh, all right, I think that's it for this video. I already made it longer than I wanted to. Maybe I'll do a short summary of this video too, with the main topic I wanted to talk about. But that's it. I will speak to everyone else later, or to everyone later, not everyone else, everyone later that is in here. Thank you for watching. 8 people that are here. Give me a like on the video if you haven't already, and maybe some more people can join next time because maybe I'll get a few subscribers, or maybe my numbers will go up. Maybe not that I don't get subscribers. Maybe the numbers will. All right, but I'll let you out. Peace, peace. Where's that? Oh, there it is.